Today we're going to go over some questions about, I guess, metric lengths that would make the most sense. Okay? So these types of questions are basically just so you have a grasp of, how long each of these measurements are. So I'll just put everything into perspective. A meter is a little more than a yard. I think it's about 39 inches. So if you've seen a yardstick, it's a little bit longer than that. So it's a little more than 3 feet. So that is a meter. A centimeter is a little less than half an inch. So there's about 30 centimeters in a foot. So it's a little less than half an inch. A millimeter is extremely small. It's smaller. There are 10 millimeters in each centimeter. So if you think about it like that, there would be about 25 millimeters in each inch. So a millimeter, if something's a millimeter, it's so small that it's like it might even be hard to see. A kilometer is a little more than half a mile. I believe it is 6/10 of a mile about. So, in terms of distance, like 60 miles would be 100 kilometers. So for kilometers, you're going to, use kilometers for, long distances, basically. Distances like traveling places. Like it might be 10 kilometers to the grocery store. Something along those lines. So let's just go through these and we can figure out what seems to be the best option. So a length of bread, the length of a loaf of bread, right? So we have 31 kilometers. That is a whole lot of miles, so clearly that's not right. 31 millimeters, which is a little bit more than an inch. 31 centimeters, which is a little bit more than a foot, and 31 meters, which is, about 100 feet probably, close to that. So the answer would be 31 centimeters. A loaf of bread is probably a little more than a foot. So what about a flagpole? Now, the only one that would make sense for a flagpole would be 9 meters, right? Because 9 centimeters is a few inches, 9 millimeters is tiny, 9 kilometers, that would potentially stretch like into space if it was a flagpole. So 9 meters is the only thing that would make sense. An apple. So let's think about an apple. It might be, I said that 30 centimeters is a foot, so 10 centimeters would be, since 10 is 1/3 of 30, and 1/3 of a foot is about 4 inches, 10 centimeters would be about 4 inches, and I would say that's about the size of an apple. Let's think about a swimming pool. What would be the depth of a swimming pool? Now, 3 millimeters would be barely any water at all, as would 3 centimeters. 3 kilometers might be the depth of the ocean at like a super deep part. But a swimming pool, the only one that would make sense would be 3 meters. The height of a glue stick, I would say 8 centimeters is the only one that makes sense, right? Because millimeters would be way too small. And meters, 8 meters would be a huge glue stick, and 8 kilometers is just crazy. It's like 5 miles or something. The height of a recliner. So millimeter. So a recliner, just to be clear, is a chair, right? That leans back. That's what they mean by a recliner. If you weren't aware. But let's think. A millimeter is way too small. A meter is a little more than 3 feet. That's probably about the height of a kilometer, or I mean a recliner. A kilometer is more than half a mile. Obviously, a recliner is not that big, and a centimeter is way too small again. So, I mean, we could continue to go through these, but really, the whole thing is just figuring out how much each of these are, and just being able to visualize it in your mind. Being able to, conceptualize that a meter is a little more than 3 feet, and a centimeter is a little less than half an inch. So basically, it's just a good idea to really understand how big these are and be able to remember that. Now, we could go through and it would probably be good if we discussed maybe another time, instead of just length, we could do mass with grams and kilograms, and we could also potentially do, I guess, volume of liquid with liters and milliliters and things like that. But for today, hopefully this cleared things up with how much a kilometer or a kilometer, a millimeter, a meter, and centimeters are.